Effects of global warming. Global warming is the increase in global average surface temperature due to increased greenhouse gas concentrations. Global warming has been happening since the late 1800s and continues today, with 2016 being one of the hottest years on record. Global warming can have many effects on humans and animals as well as our planet itself. In this blog post, we will discuss some effects of global warming that are already occurring, and what you can do to help slow down these effects, and how it could affect you in your lifetime. Effects of global warming on human health. Global warming is the gradual rise in the temperature of Earth's atmosphere and oceans, which scientists predict will lead to extreme weather conditions. It has been postulated that these changes may be causing a variety of impacts on human health, including more non-lethal heat strokes like those experienced during summertime due to increased humidity levels, as well as an increase in disease transmission rates such as malaria by mosquitoes, which can survive at higher temperatures than they could before. However, because this topic remains controversial with little evidence available for either side yet, it cannot indeed be proven what might happen if we continue emitting greenhouse gas emissions into our environment without change. Effects of global warming on animals. On the rise of global warming, animals are experiencing an alarming shift in their habitats. With changing climates and temperatures, they either need to move up or down on the food chain if they want to survive. Global warming has been affecting animal populations for decades now, with a large number shifting from one ecological zone into another due to global warming or because the higher ground is no longer available as highlands become deserts. This includes fish migrating away from coasts, mammals being pushed further inland by encroaching Arctic tundra zones, and plants moving northward at rates unheard of before. Though it's hard enough surviving against all these odds without having people making things more difficult through pollution like deforestation, poaching, etc., while promoting industries such as energy that can emit massive amounts of greenhouse. In recent years, many animals have been negatively impacted by the effects of global warming. For example, as sea levels rise and icebergs melt into oceans around Antarctica in the warmer months from December to February, known as the melting season, penguins are forced inland with no food sources available to feed their populations. They must leave or starve over time. Effects of global warming on plants. The world is experiencing a temperature increase that has been scientifically proven to be caused by human behavior. Plants of all kinds have begun to die from drought, insect infestations, and other complications due to climate change. Some species like the cactus lichen in Alaska find themselves able only to grow along coastlines as their glacier-rich habitats shrink at alarming rates with rising tides. As global warming increases, plants will find it harder to absorb nutrients or photosynthesis processes efficiently because their leaf membranes cannot work at high temperatures of up to 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 Fahrenheit. This may lead some species that thrive under warm conditions, such as palm trees from tropical forests in Brazil, Malaysia, India, and Indonesia, with about 38 to 43% coverage area around the world, collapsing due to an inability for them to adapt fast enough before they go extinct by 2050, according to a new report published on March 13, 2018 by Nature Climate Change Journal called The Future of Tropical Plants, Understanding and Preparing for a Warmer World. Effects of global warming on ecosystem. From polar bears to plants, the effects of global warming are widespread and varied. As temperatures rise, animals must make adjustments in their lifestyles while also dealing with changes that occur naturally as a result of this process. The most significant impacts can be seen on ocean life. Coral reefs may disappear entirely by 2050 due to increased sea surface water temperature, which causes corals' symbiotic algae or zooxanthellae, algae living within the tissue, to die off. Warmer waters cause fish populations around Antarctica's edges, particularly krill population, to decline significantly because they have trouble feeding themselves at higher depths where there is more food available. Ice sheets melt faster, which results in rising sea levels flooding coastal areas worldwide. Effects of global warming on aquatic life. Recent studies have shown that the increase in temperatures has had a devastating impact on aquatic life, and this is likely to be just the start of things. In locales near the equator, sea levels have already risen up to a foot. As global warming progresses and deep ocean waters warm as well, it is predicted that animals with shells will no longer be able to survive in these warmer climates due to their need for colder water temperatures. Catastrophic and irreversible consequences are predicted for aquatic life as global warming continues. As the Earth's atmosphere warms, oceans will absorb much of this heat in addition to bearing most human-caused pressures such as pollution and fishing practices that have driven many fish populations into decline. This temperature increase could lead to a cascade effect with some species unable to survive due to their dependence on cooler water temperatures while others may thrive but be at risk from increased competition or predation by invasive marine organisms like jellyfish, which were not historically present in these regions before global warming occurred. Effects of global warming on agriculture. Global warming is a well-known topic of discussion in today's society. Agricultural production has been negatively impacted by the dramatic rise in temperature and will continue to be as Earth warms throughout this century. This places an immense toll on food security, which can result from profound changes that are occurring, such as alterations to precipitation patterns or water availability for irrigation purposes. It also impacts agricultural business operations because it increasingly becomes necessary for farmers to utilize more expensive inputs like fertilizers and pesticides than they otherwise would have had to otherwise maintain yields while meeting quality standards set forth by consumers worldwide who want only safe foods available at their grocery stores, all with less yield per acre possible. Do best practices have given altered conditions brought about global climate change trends? Effects of global warming. Effects of global warming on the economy. If we don't stop global warming before it's too late, the economy will surely suffer. The effects of global warming are already being felt in many parts of our country and around the world. As temperatures rise globally, more people become vulnerable to extreme weather events such as floods and heat waves that can result in lost crops or homes, and often both at once, for this part is happening right now. In addition to losses from natural disasters due to rising sea levels and storm surges, there could also be economic disruptions like higher food prices on top of increased transportation costs when shipping goods become less reliable because borders have been closed by a changing environment. Just one example among thousands where every extra penny matters for families living paycheck to paycheck. Effects of global warming on the ozone layer. It's hard to imagine the consequences of global warming on a planet that we can't even see. Yet some say this phenomenon is creating holes in our ozone layer, which protects us from UV radiation and other effects of solar storms. Research done by NASA shows that these holes are not only happening over Antarctica but also around New Zealand, an area where there has been no significant change in atmospheric chemistry or temperature whatsoever. What does it all mean? It means something isn't quite right with weather patterns. Polar ice caps melting might be just one more consequence for Earthlings to worry about if things don't go back into balance soon. Effects of global warming on acid rain. Global warming is caused by the release of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. These gases are produced from natural sources like volcanic eruptions or human activities such as driving cars, which leads to a rise in planet temperature. This will eventually lead to an increase in acid rain due to these increased levels of CO2 emissions into the atmosphere, causing less rainfall over land masses because they trap more heat close to Earth's surface rather than letting it escape out into space where water droplets can form condensation nuclei around them for cloud formation up high. Effects of global warming on non-living things. The Earth has a hard shell. We call it the crust, and we were all familiar with its hardness from scraping our knuckles on rocks or slipping off of them in mud puddles when sliding down hills. But since humans have been burning fossil fuels at an increasing rate, and thereby releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, this natural shield against climate change is wearing away far more quickly than expected, according to new research published by Science Advances. The study predicts that as soon as 2050, only half of what was original there will remain, many times faster than previously predicted rates.